Welcome everyone to our deep dive panel for WoW Classic. I'd like to start with some introductions with these fine gentlemen with me and myself. I'm Holly Longdale. I'm the principal producer for WoW Classic. A little bit about my background. I spent 13 years working on EverQuest. I started as a game designer and eventually became the head of the studio for the EverQuest franchise. That said, I've always been a WoW player since beta. So this is obviously a dream come true for me, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm Patrick Dawson. I'm the production director for World of Warcraft. I've been at Blizzard for 15 years now, and have been on WoW for most of that time. Avid WoW player myself, and really excited to open up that dark portal again as we all step through it.
And my name's Brian Birmingham, and I'm the lead software engineer on WoW Classic. I've also been at Blizzard for 15 years. I started on World of Warcraft. I spent about 3 years on Hearthstone as well, and then came back to the World of Warcraft team to work on WoW Classic. And it has been a great joy to me to work on this team.
There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
So earlier we announced, yay, Burning Crusade Classic is coming. But there's a lot more to it. Let's take a look at the features, because wow. I mean, wow, right?
Enough WoW fans already.
I was so excited by playing Draenei and Blood Elves. I played both, and I will say my heart's with Alliance.
How dare she?
And I also took up jewel
Okay, too
crafting
loud,
on my
laughing guy.
Draenei Shaman. I wanted to corner the market. Just the whole notion of having items with sockets and just exploring that whole system. I'm also a bit of a systems nerd. So I completely lost my time for weeks in there.
The Burning Crusade, I remember being there back then. I mean, it was our first expansion ever. So all the new features was like this really cool moment of like, what's coming next, what's going to happen. And one of the things that
it's the third
was pretty
calling
impactful
quest.
to the game was Horde having Paladins and Alliance having Shaman. I mean, as an avid
was
PvPer
this
myself,
lady?
I remember going back
cat lady
and trying
in the
to
top.
fight Shaman. I was Alliance back then. And just not understanding that class at all, because my team didn't have it. So like I try to poly them and then be like grounding totem. I didn't know what that was. And it's just like, why are Shaman immune to everything? I don't understand.
That's not what you said.
Yeah, no, I did.
No, you said they're cheating.
I understood.
Oh my God, this guy.
But Shaman, why? Like now I started to understand Shaman a little bit better. We got some of their benefits. You know, I actually like got to see totems being placed down on my side for once, and got to see the frustration of dealing with Bubble Hearth on the other.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing raids, we were always jealous of the Alliance having Paladins for Blessing of Salvation. Like, people would be pulling aggro off me, and I'd be yelling at them, like, wait for 3 Sunders! And then Alliance just like, no, it's no problem. Just, just go.
Yep. So, hey, I mean, we were upset raiding like Razor Gore without Earthbind. I mean, really even the playing field for both PvE and PvP, which was kind of cool. But there were a ton of new features and just abilities with this too. As we got to level 70 and got to experience new content and new things. I remember one of my first experiences with understanding what it meant, but for designed by Blizzard, right?
Oh,
Because I was an engineer, right? I wasn't a designer. I was working on like the live ops team at the time, and I was playing my class, avid player of Mage, and I sent this long email to Tom Chilton saying like, hey, here's what Mage needs.
The Dawson Manifesto.
So it was a well thought out forum post. And what was in it was things like bring back invisibility, let's get a threat dump in the class. And I didn't even necessarily tie those two together, but he was like, that's a pretty good idea, let's get Mage's invisibility. And just knowing that skill was coming along with some other new stuff for Mages like the Molten Armor, the Ice Lances, was just really cool to see all this new stuff in Burning Crusade.
On the other side of that, I was really excited about Spell Reflect, because I was really frustrated getting polymorphed and being able to like reflect that back on the mage.
As a mage, I was not excited for you to get
I bet you weren't. And there were even some PvE encounters that had abilities that you could reflect back. So I remember that was really fun to kind of find ways to time that and use it as a defensive ability as well.
I was a hunter.
Mm-hmm. I'm a hunter
also
now,
a hunter.
actually. Yeah, I've switched.
But I remember just chasing Beastmaster and just DPS.
Yep.
That was it. That was the chase, yeah.
Talking about that too makes me think of like the arenas and the arena system. That was a whole new world for us, with Battlegrounds and the way they worked before. Like the way the matchmaking happened, usually I was pretty competitive in PvP, so I would either get in there and stomp the enemy team who was just there to be casual, or even though like we were a good team, we weren't like the best of the best. So when we ended up going against one of those teams, it was just like, well, geez, we're just getting stomped now. This is tough. Arenas gave everyone an opportunity to play against equal-minded opponents, right? So if you were a little bit more casual, you get the opportunity to play against people who weren't maybe so competitive. Or if you were like cutting edge, go for it. Like try to be the best of the best. And what was great about that is it spawned an esport. Like that wasn't, we didn't design it for that. We just wanted people to have fun. But when we noticed like, hey, everybody's playing this, everybody's like competing in this, people are watching it, we had to embrace that. We started featuring it at Blizzcon, and we've been doing it every year since.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think one of my favorite things to recollect was the exciting zones that you would travel through. One of my favorite memories was actually in the first zone, Hellfire Peninsula, and it was adventuring around in Hellfire Peninsula, going around and doing all those quests, and always living in fear of the Fell Reaper, because you'd be out there collecting parts from like
Is this
a
all
broken
just
Zeppelin,
reminiscence?
and you'd be fighting off your Hellbores, and then all of a sudden you'd see the screen start to shake, and like these thump, 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 and then. And you're like, oh my god,
That's
I got
true.
run. He's
Those
right
are
on
pretty
top of me.
amazing sounds.
Sound still haunts my dreams.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's terrifying.
Even in life, it's just feign death. Like, as soon as you hear it, feign death.
Yeah, just get out of here. And then the payoff when you later go to Netherstorm and they give you the quest, they're like, could you get me
And I was like,
we have to compare the
I remember I had the privilege of being on the
quest. If you
Does
look
that
down
happen to you?
it accidentally flagged it to generate ocean.
that then, so glad we're doing it now.
Yeah.
Another one that I can think of is
But over the last 2 years, people realized that what that comes with is about a half a second of kind of built-in latency, where you push a button and it doesn't actually take effect for that half a second while it's waiting to queue up the other ones to go with it. And people were starting to find that frustrating. I talked to a lot of people who said they were excited about it when it first came out with Classic, but after they've been playing with it for 2 years, they're really ready to see it go, and we're ready to take it out too. So we're going to remove spell batching with Burning Crusade.
that's for that. Now that's a change we probably would incorporate in this, right? Like we don't want people to feel excluded or not part of being able to do a fight like that. But then probably a month or so after that, we nerfed Mover's Health. That doesn't need to happen. Let's just keep it in the hard form. We can evaluate any changes we need to make after
This is
that.
very
but,
cool.
Yeah, it won't just be like, hey, final form. We're not even going to look
stuff.
at it. Let's call it a day. So.
Yeah. So how did your mage handle the pushback?
I just was sad.
It feels
on the bench.
personal. Yeah.
No, I was the raid leader, so I got to choose who went. But
The one mage allowed to go.
that was honestly, that's one of my favorite fights ever in World of Warcraft. That was a really, really fun fight.
That's awesome. Another change that we're talking about making is along the lines of the
Sarned.
PvP balance and
Fucking
faction
rude.
balance is, obviously with Burning Crusade, Paladins are introduced to the Horde and Shamans are introduced to the Alliance, and that was intended to be a balancing of the factions and let's, make them even. And then they wanted to kind of keep a little bit of flavor of that faction identity, so they kept Seal of Blood on the Horde and Seal of Vengeance on the Alliance. It was intended to be equivalent power abilities that were just slightly different in flavor.
not very
but in
informationally
retrospect, Seal of
dense.
Blood was just so much better. And so one of the changes that we are going to make is we are going to give the opposite faction's seal to the other faction. But we're going to do that at max level. So we keep just a little bit of that faction identity, where Horde will get Seal of Blood at level 64 on schedule. He was really frustrated that the rest of us were all running around in Outland, and he was like, I'm still back in
come on.
Wetlands. Yeah. What is going on?
Yeah.
When can I play with you guys? So yeah, I'm really glad we're doing that.
Yeah.
Doing that with pre-patch?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Very
Is,
cool.
Yeah, pre-patch will come out and you'll be able to go start your Blood Elves and
Yep.
Draenei.
And then content. So we've got some phases happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the content phases that we got coming are exciting. We're gonna start with Karazhan and Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon's Lair. And we want to start with just that released because we found with Classic that people really enjoy that kind of gear progression. And that's where all the tier 4 gear is with those raids. And we want people to have an opportunity to level up, catch up to their friends, and all kind of go through these things together. So as we unlock each chapter, we want to make sure everybody's had enough time to be part of that
That's
chapter.
good shit.
And the next
that.
chapter after that will be phase 2, which will be Serpentine Cavern and Tempest Keep.
Yeah.
Then next we move on to phase 3, which is Hyjal and the Black Temple. And the reason that's a change is, of course, originally Hyjal was
what's phase 2?
each chapter. We want to make sure everybody's had enough time to be part of that chapter. And the next chapter after that will be phase 2, which will be Serpentine Cavern and Tempest Keep.
Yeah.
Then next we move on to phase 3, which is Hyjal and the Black Temple. And the reason that's a change is, of course, originally
That'd be a big
Hygel
phase,
was
A
available
lot of content.
from the launch of Burning Crusade, but nobody could really get in there because of the way the attunements work. So we'll unlock that as a later chapter alongside Black Temple. And then that'll go with Arena Season 2 at that point. And then Arena Season 3 will come out alongside Zulaman with a little bit of catch-up gear for anybody who's taken that long to catch up. It's another smaller instance, a 10-man. And then finally, Phase 5 will be Sunwell.
There's so many
and Arena
raids
Season
in this
4.
Been a very
expansion, I
busy
feel
year.
like.
Yeah, it is. It's an expansion with a lot of in it. A lot in it.
And so we spent a lot of time talking about Burning Crusade Classic and Burning Crusade, which is exciting. We're very excited about it, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot coming, and we want to walk through how this is going to materialize.
Well, yeah, really the question is, we have a diverse player base where people have a lot of different wants and needs. And how do we get there? How do we get to the Burning Crusade? Well, the first group of people that we wanted to make sure that we were serving well is those people who do want to go to the Burning Crusade. We feel that most of the community is interested in this. They're going to want to do this. We want to make it simple and easy for them. So how are we going to do that?
As we said earlier, you're going to be able to make a choice. So we'll talk about and explore these choices in some detail, and I'll give you some examples. So to start with the current servers you're on now, Classic Live servers, are going to become what we're calling progression servers. And what that means is the servers that are live now will always unlock any expansion we release. So when we get to our patch day, you're going to be presented with a choice. Do you want to continue on into the Burning Crusade, or do you want to move to Classic? So in that space, you're going to do that for every single character. So for my example, I'm on Warm Rest Accord. So I've got a level 60. I am definitely taking that on through to Burning Crusade. But I've got a couple of mid-levels that I know I want to move with my friends. Those are characters I level with my friends in Classic, and I want to continue that journey with them. We want to make it as easy and seamless as possible to just get right into Burning Crusade. But there are options.
I'm not sure I understand the argument for staying behind. Maybe I'm missing a beat there. But if you have friends who are still leveling, they can also level in Burning Crusade. Right? Is there something significantly different about the leveling experience in Burning Crusade compared to Classic? I don't remember there being much different.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. I know there's a lot of my friends, for example, who maybe didn't really play Classic when it first came out, right? And so now they're behind, and they're interested in playing the Burning Crusade. This was, for a lot of people, their favorite expansion that we've done. We want to make sure that those people are served too. And one of the ways we can do that is provide a boost to people who are interested in coming back, but maybe aren't interested in doing the classic WoW experience, but really want to hop right into Outland as quickly as
21st
possible.
century Classic.
Yeah, so
right there.
the team, we spent quite a bit of time
I actually like
discussing
that.
it because we want to make sure we respect the time of the people that have been playing Classic for 2 years. But also, we want people to be able to enjoy Burning Crusade if they loved it the first time and maybe missed Classic. So we are going to offer a level 58 boost for purchase, but it does come with some restrictions. So it's going to be 1 per account. It's not going to be usable on Blood Elf or Draenei. It'll have some dungeon.
Not usable in Blood Elf or Draenei? Think about that for a second. Is that because their starting experience is incompatible with starting at level 58? I guess because it's part of the Burning Crusade experience, leveling up a paladin or a shaman. And it's not something you could have done in Classic. So the idea is the boost is like, you could have done this in Classic, which is something that's being left behind with these new servers. Okay, I get that logic. I just needed to think it through for a second.
Dungeon Blues, it'll have level 40 mount skill, no professions, it's the basics. Basically your Outland starting kit.
That's cool. That's a really great way to jump into the game for sure.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll be looking forward to that. Look, I know a lot of people came back
Oh,
to play
hi.
WoW Classic, and that's all they want. That's all they ever wanted. They're like, you know what, Burning Crusade, that's awesome. I'm sure some people are going to love that, but for me, I came back for WoW Classic. What do they get to do? What's their options?
Yeah, that was really important for us too.
Yeah.
So we we had all sat down and discussed like how we should frame this. So when we get to our patch day, which is prior to the Dark Portal opening, when I said before, like, I'll go back to my example for Worm Rest, we will be launching Classic Era Realms at the same time as we do our patch, and you will have that choice. So when you make the choice to go to Burning Crusade Classic, or you make the choice, like on my example, my level 40 druid, I want to move that character to Classic Era. And what Classic Era means is that those particular servers are going to stay in that era forever. So that is going to remain classic till the end of time. It's never going to unlock expansions. You'll be able to make that choice for every single character. Do you go on to Burning Crusade, or do you choose to go to Classic Era? Let's say, you know, you're behind the times a little bit. You'll still be able to have that choice. We haven't locked it to a time window. You're not going to miss the boat to Era.
The choice sounds awesome, and choice in WoW is something that's meaningful. It's always been meaningful.
Yeah.
And
Need
I think it's something
consequence,
that's
though.
important when
That's what
you
makes
look at
choice
the
good.
community, that you're going to choose to go to the Burning Crusade or you're going to choose to go to Classic. You know, some people may not be comfortable with that choice. And while we think that choice is important, we also recognize that there are folks that are going to want to play both, right? Like, yeah, see,
Right here.
maybe you have some stuff left to do in Classic that you wanted, and you want to keep that character in Classic, but you also are interested, that same character wants to raid with your friends.
That's
in
exactly
TPC. So what does that look like? How do we make that happen?
So we're gonna actually offer a paid service to let you make a copy of your character, and I know like a copy is a big deal. So like you said, like this is something we don't want to make just an automatic choice for everybody. But I know that for me, it really is going to be like that pull to go to both places. So I want to be able to say like, you know what, I'm willing to pay some money for this. I want a copy of my character that lives in Classic Era forever, while I also go to Burning Crusade with that with that character. And that way I can stay with my friends who are really excited to go to Karazhan. I'm really excited to go to Karazhan. I want to see my hunter go through Karazhan, but if I'm missing like a couple pieces of my tier 3 set from Naxxramas, I still have an opportunity to go find a new guild there.
Oh, my tier 3
go
already.
through Naxxramas again until I finish that set.
I haven't done anything.
We're going to be spending a lot of time communicating these details. So
Yeah.
even as much detail as we're giving now, it's very high level. There's going to be a lot more detail to come. So
Sabron?
keep an ear out. But with that said, so Pat, when's all this happening?
Oh, soon.
Yay!
So yeah, this is something that is important to get. People are still playing through Naxxramas. We want to make sure that they have enough time to do that. But what we are looking at, this will be happening in 2021. For sure, we are committed to doing that.
This year.
And what we're looking at is starting the beta rather soon. So hopefully that beta will go
That's
up
good.
and we'll get that running. The community can come and participate, help us out. We'll start to hear some feedback on the things we've talked about today. If there's any adjustments we need to make, we want to make sure we have a long enough beta period for that to happen. And then we'll get that out to the players so you can all enter the Dark Portal.
Yay!
Yeah, it's exciting.
So any final words?
Yeah, I just talked about the beta, and I will say just to the community, you all have been so instrumental in making Classic the success that it has been, and you will be equally instrumental in making the Burning Crusade a tremendous success also. So please get in that beta, play, give us your feedback. We want to hear all about it. So enjoy, welcome, and let's have some fun.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's been the highlight of my professional career to work on WoW Classic and have the support and love of this community. It is really special to me, and I'm really excited to be sharing this with all of you.
What
in
a
the Burning Crusade.
sweetheart.
Yeah, and for me,
What a
I've been playing
sweetheart.
Classic since it launched, and I wasn't working at Blizzard then, and it's changed my life, obviously. So from me and the entire WoW team, we want to thank you for bringing Azeroth to life.
think I'm okay
for
with
us.
Classic,
so
Mom.
we will definitely be seeing you in game in whatever
buy
flavor
it.
you choose. And
Seems
until
like she
then,
walks the walk.
stay classic.
Is that misogynistic of me to say? Okay. So we've done Shadowlands, we've done Burning Crusade. Making of the Ancient Mount, World of Warcraft Voices of the Afterlife. What is Voices of the Afterlife? There we go. Lucky number 20. Something Overwatch related that came out today? Oh, this is the World of Warcraft channel. What's going on with Overwatch? Voices of Overwatch, creating a soundtrack, behind the scenes. Overwatch Spotlight.
Yo,
Hey, Nick.
how's it going?
Going good, man. Just doing a little bit of chilled gaming on my Friday night.
Word.
How goes it with you?
Good. I'm just glad it's the weekend. I feel like I'm like a high school kid these days. Like I've never, I basically live for the weekend, which I feel like I haven't done in a long time.
Yeah. Is that just because like
It's because I'm
the
just very
stressful work
like
schedule?
yeah, just like dissatisfied with my job, basically.
Yeah. But before I say anything else, I want to mention I do currently have my stream on.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
that's yeah. I mean, as long as you don't mind, I don't really care.
it's no problem with me at all.
All right,
Actually, I think it's kind of nice to capture this kind of stuff. I can listen back to it later.
cool.
But yeah, we were talking earlier about the new stuff I've been trying with the weekly show, and you were giving me some feedback.
Yes.
Before we continue on that, can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
I just wondering what your impression is about something. So I recently have spun off a second Twitch channel I've called Deeg Casual. And the purpose of that was just to kind of say, hey, like the main channel is for like main content. It's for actually like cameras on, discussion, we're doing this type of stuff. That way people know that channel is for that content. And if I didn't really want to worry about presentation so much, and all I wanted to do was like kind of have a VOD or create a place people can drop in and say, hey, I would create the casual channel for that. And I've been using it like for like a month and a half, I guess. Something like that. But lately I've been wondering if maybe that's a silly way to look at it, and the Twitch channel is not so much about the content, but it's more about the person. People don't necessarily tune into Twitch for specific content. They tune in to, hang out with a
The
certain
personality.
person. And so that I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go back to just doing everything that I do on the main channel. I was just curious if you had a take on it.
I mean, well, that sort of fits in with, I guess, what I was saying earlier is like, what do you really want out of,
Uh-huh.
out of this? And I guess having, honestly, I haven't, because my schedule, basically since the election or even before the election, like
Mhm.
I've just been like in hell, so I haven't watched a whole lot. Although I know you've also you slowed down a bit there for a couple months, but
Yeah, I took some time off at the end of the year, start of the year.
honestly, I feel like there's a confliction of what you want what you want it to be. Like
Uh-huh.
in terms of, I feel like they're like the content is serious, right? Like at least that's how I would classify it. I mean, it's casual, but it's like it's serious content. Like,
Yeah, it's not like hanging around,
it's
joking around. It's
right.
not
It's sort of
like
like
it's not
deep thought
personality centric.
stuff,
It's like topic centric, I guess.
which to me does not actually lend well to a streaming medium.
Okay.
To me, if you're trying to do something like more serious and thoughtful, it should be like something that, I'm not saying it has to be like not done live, but something that's more not just like like let's hop on the stream and
Mhm.
like just shoot the shit. And I mean, like that works for some people. I mean, like I feel like that's
Mhm.
what Twitch is for, and I
What
feel
it's
like
good
I
at.
have
Yeah.
I have a better sense now, months later, of sort of like the difference between something like Twitch and something like YouTube. I mean,
Sure.
aside from the obvious fact that one is live,
Yeah.
uh, and
Well,
YouTube can be live too, I
Tubes has that
suppose.
too now. Yeah.
Um, but I feel like most people don't. I feel like most of what I see, or at least most of what I consume, is stuff that's been
I think
recorded
most
and
YouTube
edited.
consumption is VODs. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Um, so
And in
I don't.
general, the market for live content is significantly lower than the market for VOD content. Like, just overall, I'm across all platforms. Is my perception.
Right. But I guess my point is like, I don't know. I feel like what you're going for is something more, uh, VOD. I guess is that I
More
don't even know
VOD.
the
Mhm.
phraseology, but like, yeah, honestly, yes. Like if you're going for something like like deeper interviews, or even the kind of like you to camera segments,
Mhm.
like that stuff should be, in my mind, like edited before it's posted,
Uh-huh.
like to be consumed. um Especially stuff that's just you're going to be talking into a camera,
Mhm.
because like you're going to want to cut out that's why when you watch these things, at least on YouTube, it's like there's just constant cuts, and everyone has a different way of doing cuts. Like some
Mhm.
people just do like straight up hard cuts, and in the TV world that would be like a huge no-no, but
Mhm.
on the internet it's like kind of the
It's
preferred way to do
yeah.
it.
Actually kind of the aesthetic now. It's like
um
people did it originally because it was easy, but now it's just like that style like confers a sense of authenticity to it. I think.
right. I don't know, so I guess that's what I mean. I don't know, I feel like with what you're doing, that's the medium, right?
Mhm.
I mean, like, you've been doing them all on Twitch, which like in some ways it's good because it can like give you audience interaction, but
Mhm.
I also feel like there's like a at
Conflict.
some point it becomes too many people that you can't even, if the conversation became too much, it would
Sure.
need like
Sure.
moderators and stuff, and it would become useless. But then on the flip side, it's like, sometimes it could be dead. So it's like there's really like just a very narrow band of like how
Where
you can interact with
yeah,
the audience.
where the live thing works, where you can actually keep it to be topical, conversational without it just going off the
Right.
rails. Yeah,
So
that's
like in
fair.
that regard, it's like, does it really need to be live if it's like kind of limited anyway?
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, like I'm always going to come back to the like, I guess this gets to like, again, what you want. But
Mhm.
to me, it's like most people watching, be it live or be it, pre-recorded, VOD, VOD, whatever, like aren't going to want to watch anything for certainly not 3 hours.
Mhm.
Uh, but again, it's like I don't, I guess it's to me, it's like my question to you is like, are you doing this like for you? Like, I mean, obviously
Mhm.
the answer should be yes. Like, it should be to like have fun, but like beyond that,
Mhm.
what do you want out of it? Like, do you want to grow an audience, and like, because I know your whole thing, like to me, is like a community, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a repeated theme that comes up in like multiple things you do.
Yeah.
Community. So like to me, the answer is like, yes, you want like a community
Mhm.
around it. And it's like, well, how do you build that? It's like, well, you have to make stuff that's going to be like
Help.
palatable to most people.
Right.
Um, you know, so yeah, it's like, how do you make what you're doing the most digestible?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I agree with everything you said. Um, I have some thoughts
And it's
about
like,
what it is I want to get out of it. I'd be happy to share it with you if you're interested.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the main respecting facts that I've kind of come to self-respecting insights is while I took some time off, is the idea that whatever I do, it has to be something that is in itself somewhat regenerative, because for what this is, it fits into a part of my life that needs to do a lot of things. Gaming has traditionally been like my outlet and my hobby that rejuvenates me. And although I like creating value with it, it needs to be something that I can easily sustain essentially after my 9 to 5, right? And there have been a few things that I've come to as a consequence of thinking of that reality. Number one, like I got the notion that the idea of me like streaming myself playing games, like and like doing like personality centric game streaming is something that I kind of decided is not really what I want to focus on, because I usually end up not enjoying the stream or the game I'm playing very much. So like the idea of being known as a PlanetSide streamer, a Guild Wars streamer, a World of Warcraft streamer, etc. And that's what kind of led me down the road of having the casual channel and keeping things separate to be like. And then I was looking at the reality that for the podcast, the conversational podcast that I do, I realized that. Hang on a second. I need to not die here. Okay, I should be fine. I'm trying to go in a direction with the conversational podcast that is functionally going to result in me doing fewer of them. It's going to be harder for me to find a guest every single week, and I realized that I still wanted to do weekly discussion-based content of some kind, irrespective of people's schedules. So right now, Basement Side Weekly, this is a very temporary name for that idea of something I can renewably do every week in a way that lets me use the rest of my week to get the actual needed downtime I need from my games. And let's be honest, like I've spent a lot of time just playing games in order to be relevant in the way I discuss them. Like the whole reason I picked up World of Warcraft retail, in addition to the fact that it just appealed to me, is because I felt that I owed it to myself to have a grounded sense of what it's doing and how it's changed over the last 15 years. And I'm actually getting to a point where I'm going to be falling off with it and playing it less. So that's okay. So yeah, one of the main components has to be like sustainability. And when I think about what's sustainable, I think about showing up with some links and some ideas I've gleaned over the week, and just talking into a camera for a couple hours, and do some really basic editing on the VOD and putting that up. And there's some more to it too. I mean, that's not all of it, but that's one of the ideas.
Oh, what I was gonna say is I feel like I definitely getting guests every week would be a lift. I I will say it's not. It's doable. But even if you did it once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I think, and I sort of expressed this before, is again like the identity of what you're trying to do. Because like most of what I've seen is within the Guild Wars 2 PlanetSide WoW arena, right? Usually like content creators like within those games.
Yeah, that's why I focused on it towards the end of last year. Yeah.
But like your Basement Side weeklies are really like just kind of broad ideas.
Yes.
Which you don't, there's plenty of, I feel like there's plenty of guests you could get for that. I mean, it would take a research. And again, it sort of goes back to like when we were originally talking about this stuff, back in like fall, late summer, whenever it was.
Right.
Do you like, because to me, it seems like, yeah, you like specific games, but like, I feel like that's not really what you want to talk about.
Not really. That's not the soul of it.
So yeah, to me, I'm like, well, why don't you, and I know it's like a hard thing to do, but like try to branch out of that and like, find someone who, like something like, when you did game when you back in the early days when you
Yeah.
talked about game
When I talked to
monetization,
Matt with.
and like
Mhm.
Matt was like kind of like, I mean, it wasn't precisely his background, but like
He was a
he
sort
had
of
enough,
semi-guru. Yeah, he had
yeah,
enough
he
to
had
add
enough
meaningful
knowledge
context.
where he could like actually, add. He had not. He was a relative. I don't say expert, but like knowledgeable on the situation.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like, you don't have to go for like the cream of the crop guest on like X topic. And frankly, you probably, if you're starting out small, like you're not going to be able to.
Yes.
But like just someone with enough expertise to like know what they're talking about, so it like lends credibility to what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I feel
Well,
like
yeah.
that would be
So let's do a thought
something.
experiment about that. Like I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. Like let's say so like okay. Um the show I'm looking at doing next week, I have a bunch of topics scribbled down. It's a kind of smattering. So I want to talk about the way so New World is an MMO made by Amazon Game Studios, and it's was recently announced it's being delayed again. I wanted to discuss that. I also want to talk about the uh, BlizzCon, which is an event that's happening over today and tomorrow, with a bunch of announcements about Blizzard's IPs, including World of Warcraft and some others.
We'll see. Like I even know. I mean, I don't know if they do it, but like I know a like guess that off the top of my head that you could do for BlizzCon, because like she works at Blizzard. I don't know
Okay.
how involved she is with um, BlizzCon itself, but I don't know, something
Okay.
worth checking out.
Can just devil's advocate? Let me pose a question to you and see what you think. By the time I've gone to the effort of tracking down a guest on a relevant topic and a timely topic,
They say no.
well, let's say they say yes, which is honestly not super likely, but let's just roll with it. Let's say they say yes. Wouldn't it make more sense by the point I've put in the hours to talk to? Let's be honest, I have to ask probably 10 to 20 people in order to get one yes. It's usually the way it works for me. By the time I've gone through that process, doesn't it make more sense to just have them on a normal conversational podcast? And sure, we can talk about the game, but I can make the actual discussion more about them. And it's that kind of content by then. Because that's where I fall. Like, if I'm talking with a person, unless I have a person who is like, and what you describe, Nick, is something that I kind of thought this might be early on, back when Matt and Taylor were more heavily involved. I thought they were going to be the guys that would be bouncing off with this stuff. You know, they were going to be my partners in crime on all this content, but it's just not what they want to do. And I respect that. Like it's a lot of work, and to keep up with the shit that I care about is a lot of like hassle, and a lot of people just want to unplug with video games, and I gotta respect
Yeah.
that, even though I'm
I
not
mean,
that
shit, I
way.
get it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, being honest, like the same sort of thing happened with me, because like for a while I was like really on board, and then
Yeah.
at certain points, like, well, I felt like it kept going back to the content creator thing, so I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And it's like I guess that's what you want to do, but it's also like I want to help out, but like there's only so much I can do too, like
Right.
so it's
Yeah. Like I. So
I mean,
like.
I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
It's a lot of fucking work.
And if I'd gone with a different vision, like I maybe could have kept people interested, like yourself and Matt. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for me to do is to stay true to what I want to get out of it, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to keep it up. And that's the big lesson to myself.
I guess one possible solution in terms of like, getting a guest, and then like by the time you interview them, it's like you want to talk about them instead of like what because like whatever, like the topic has now passed and it's like kind of too late.
And
I mean,
also,
that's why
talking to a person is more interesting to me. It's intrinsically more interesting to me. But finish your point though.
like I would say like, try to find guests for topics that are like evergreen, like not necessarily like a topic that's like pegged to like some event or some release or some specific game, because that game could like not be in fashion, however many weeks, months later. um like find a topic that is like basically always, and because I feel like the topics you like to talk about are not really not necessarily like,
I don't
time
actually
sensitive.
like talking about news in general, but news
Right.
news news is a good vehicle for talking about things that actually do interest me, like actually difficult problems. Um,
Right. I mean, like
and
topics that are
same thing with meeting people. Like, I think people are have the most meaningful way for me to talk about something that's kind of difficult and interesting is to actually find a person who has some expertise or some valuable perspective on it and see what they think, see what they've dealt with. Like that's like the
well,
number one for me. That's the ideal.
exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, like you want to talk to those people because like they know about
Right.
the issue.
Right.
So I mean, like that's why I'm saying is like, you got to find. I
And
don't know. To me,
I
it's you
I
got to
like
find
that
the
idea, but I don't know how to do that. And at least in a way where I can have any kind of consistency. Like, to me, like, the part I despair on, if I could have someone show up on my on my stream every single week, like a different person, or even the same person with the same general interests and concerns, that would be like a fucking that's like my fantasy, Nick. I want
well.
that.
See, I
I
feel
have
like you
no
want.
idea how to manifest it.
Yeah, but you want to be careful with that because you don't want to just, you want to. I think actually have someone that has like different, similar concerns, but maybe also different. Like, so it's like actually a meaning,
Oh yeah.
like a
Ideally,
challenging
ideally
conversation as
they
opposed to.
disagree with me because that makes better content, and it also
Uh,
has a chance to do something that I need out of the content, which is to actually change the way I see things. Like, I have no desire to do this as a vehicle towards validating my beliefs. That's a stupid and dumb way to approach it. And if that's
right.
all I cared about, I wouldn't bother. Like, the whole point is I want someone to I don't know. I I think that I have a unique mindset about approaching a lot of these problems. And I think that there's a potential to locate a niche audience that is interested and receptive to it. The trick is how to channel it and how to refine it. And you're bringing up lots of good things that can happen to refine. But like, it's kind of like, yeah, like this would be great if I had a team of people going out and tracking people down, or if I didn't have a day job. I would absolutely do all these things.
I get it, and it's like I kind of look. I feel like I look at when I look at other people on YouTube content creators and stuff. It's like at some point they make that decision as to be like, all right, do I go all in on this? And I mean, obviously, they build up to a point where that can even be considered an
Right,
option.
right.
Um, but it's certainly a lot. But I do feel like there are things I mean, one way to potentially look at it is to like, okay, look at the group of people online and
Mm-hmm.
like, what are some of their expertise and like, could you use them? And some of them you already have, right? Obviously, with you're talking about Matt, he's one of
Right.
them. And again, it's like the more it's a hard thing to do because it's like I feel like the best way to approach it is not with the intent purpose of like trying to like maximize growth more. You want to focus on like the actual content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's
And
like people will come naturally, I suppose.
mhm, if you build it, they will come.
But I don't, it's you at the same time, it's like you have to keep that in mind. It's like how you're trying to grow. Um,
Mhm.
and it's like sticking within the comfort zone is like not necessarily going to grow.
Yeah, and like that's painful to me too, because like I recognize that one of the major limitations in this for me is the fact that it does have to be something that Like, I definitely see a version of this where I put my entire let me think of a way to put this that's complete. Um, a version of this where I put my everything, I put the maximum amount of effort into it that I possibly can. And I've considered that. And I definitely had weeks where I've done that. The problem that I have is because the rest of my life is so big that it drains me completely and drains all my passion. It depletes the very thing that I require in order to show up and do it in the first place. And the only logical thing for me to cut back is my day job. However, replacing the income that I receive from my
Right.
nice corporate tech job is not a realistic goal in the short or medium
Right.
term. So what I'm left with is either making significant lifestyle sacrifices in order to do this, which if it was just me living on my own, I would have to strongly consider. But because I don't live on my own, I have to, and I've talked to my wife about this, where we both have our own hobby interests that we'd much rather be pursuing than our day jobs. We've both decided that it's important for us to do these things and to leave the maximum amount of time to focus on them as possible. But it's not more important than the lifestyle that we've been able to achieve with what we've been with our careers over the last 8 years. So that's just where it sits today, and it might not always sit there. And like my dream is for what I'm doing to catch on in such a way that eventually I can consider replacing most of my income with it, or that there's I don't know. I'm not even sure what it would be, but the idea that I have is okay. Do what I can for now. Live with the reality that I have, and keep developing the content, even if the audience and the presentation isn't exactly where you want it yet. With the idea that it can turn over when there's a moment for it.
True. I 100% get what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like the presentation, there's still things like you can do now, like just playing devil's advocate. Like if
Yeah.
someone went to your Twitch and like, I haven't seen some of the Basement Side weeklies on YouTube, but
Yeah.
like if someone went to Twitch who was like considering being a guest and they like watched one of these,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could honestly I could see them being turned off because it's like it seems very, like unpolished, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
to put it in a PC way.
You don't need to spare me your words, my friend.
Sugarcoat it.
I'd prefer you didn't.
And like
We'll be
the
friends
clips,
afterwards, no matter what.
like with the Joe Rogan clips where you play it from YouTube and it was like flashing between like your green chroma key background of like the World of Warcraft bar and you could see the YouTube like playtime, because you had put it was just like in the green screen basically. Like I felt like, okay, like this could be cleaned up. Like
Mm-hmm.
as someone who works in professional television, I was like, oh man,
It was painful.
I gotta talk to Greg about this.
Okay. So if you make it egregious enough, then you'll come talk to me about it. This is the lesson that I've learned.
Yeah, I guess so. But I was like, oh no, like I've got to, like, I feel like it could be done. Again, I haven't not seeing the YouTube ones and how much you edited it, but like I was like, this needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like it would definitely take some effort, but I feel like it wouldn't take, because a lot of it is almost not necessarily in the editing, just more so in like the way it's done. Like I feel like you didn't need to be, and I know you want it to be kind of like stream of conscious, like on the spot. It's not, you don't want it to be scripted, but even still, like I feel like you could have picked a couple or like 3 sound bites and just kind of played them instead of like playing literally the 5-minute clip and just like pausing it every 10 seconds and like commenting and
Yeah,
playing it again.
what you're right. You're right. What you're seeing and the so what you're seeing is actually an intended outcome of just the way that I do it, which is that I create a list of links and topics that are interesting, and I look at them live during the stream. I don't do work on it ahead of time. I don't watch through it ahead of time and assemble my bullet points. I just assemble like a list of things that I think might be related and might have a common thread running through them and try to go over it. And actually, the idea I had for that stream turned out to not pan out at all. So I shaved off that Joe Rogan clip, which to me it felt interesting, but I realized that in hindsight it wasn't grounded enough in the way I was presenting it. And if I really want to present an idea like that, then I need to do I need to find a much better way of doing it than what I actually did there.
Right.
So,
Well, and that goes back to like the medium you want to present it on. Because if you're gonna do something like that, where it's like you go in with no plan, then it's probably something you're gonna want to edit so it's cleaner. When someone sees it.
ideally, yes, but what if I told you that
Well, then the flip side is you don't have the resources to edit. So then it's like, well, do you do more
Yes.
preparation before you go into it? I feel like you're gonna have to pick one of the two.
Either way, it's resources I don't have to spend. This is what I'm
True,
saying. Nick.
but I feel like doing some. I feel like you're good enough at ad-libbing enough that you don't need to do too much. I feel like you don't need to do too much prep work. I mean, like, take an hour or two and like just jot down some points. Like, and I feel like you can just kind of like ad-lib around it. Like, I'm not saying you have to like script, 15 minutes of copy. But, I don't know. I feel like that's a reality you're going to have to face. Like, because if you just do what you're doing now with like no or minimal edits on something that's stream of conscious, it's like people are just not going to be, some people might, but I feel like most people are just going to find it like meandering.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that's bearing out with the amount of attention it's getting. And I guess the question that I've been asking myself is, if I feel that my choice is to either do it the way I'm doing it with the amount of effort that I have or not do it at all, which would I rather do? And what I've settled on is I'd rather do something that was a little bit raw in stream of consciousness than not do it at all. And I would like the idea of adding in more production and more scripting, and I actually have an idea for a video essay that I'd like to do. I started working on a few days ago. I'm basically like, I have this demon inside me, Nick, and I need to figure out how to get it out. But the trick is I have a very small aperture to release it through.
Are you talking about this specific?
I'm talking about my need to talk about this stuff. Why the fuck do I need to talk about this stuff in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a demon inside of me, That's the kind of way I think about it.
I think, look, dude, I think that's
I don't
like
mean it in a bad way.
Well, no, I know that, but I think what you're talking about is like, that's like human nature. I mean, like that's what we're seeing now with the advent of the internet, and like, that's why there's like so many podcasts, and I don't say this in a mocking way, but like, everyone is like there's so many people that are content creators because of the internet. And I think it's human nature that people like just want their opinions to be heard. I mean, like, who doesn't, right? So I think that's normal. And I think the question is like, more so than the question people have to ask themselves is like, well, is my opinion unique?
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer for you, the answer is yes. So like, I think you're validated in doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question is just like, well, how do you best present it?
What's the delivery? And given the means and the resources that I have, and then what do I do with those things? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I don't know, you know, I've even thought like, I don't know, maybe I know you've gotten all the gear and like you've got the whole setup, but I don't know, maybe going back to just straight up podcast, like, cause it's in terms of like, you know, resources, like that probably requires the least. The editing is relatively straightforward
yeah, the
compared to something like
conversation
video.
like is gives a feeling to the presentation that's it doesn't need a lot of dressing out most of the time. Like
Yeah. I
it
think
is
the only thing is I feel like podcasts are slightly harder to like get um
noticed.
attention to.
Uh-huh.
One, because there's so many, and two, it's
Yeah,
I
true.
feel like it's not like YouTube where I mean I don't know, maybe there are some podcast things that you know give like suggested podcast, you know, but like you could just be browsing YouTube and come across something random, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas podcast, I feel like they have to be more like someone has to tell you about
Yeah,
it, or you have
people
to.
have to like kind of like you first before they
Yeah,
bother checking it out. Yeah,
yeah,
it's which is why people who like are already celebrities or are already comedians tend to do well with it because they don't need the name
yeah. There's a
recognition. They already
built-in
have it.
audience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
Um,
I recognize that. Um, what do you think of that reality?
Again, I mean, it comes down to like I mean, at the end of the day, I guess I'm like a utilitarian. It's like,
Yeah.
what is going to give you the most enjoyment out of it? And it's like, if you don't really care how many people tune in, but you just like want to talk to interesting people, then I don't know, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, I guess. But like, if you want to like, you know, I still think like
Uh-huh.
there should be some effort of like trying to
Mhm.
appeal to as many people as you can,
I agree.
right? So in that way, it's like I don't know. I mean, it's like I feel like a podcast would maybe be a good alternative because like yeah, you may not. It's probably going to be a lot harder to like grow, but like you could probably get the product you want in a much more presentable and cleaner way doing it
Mhm.
that way instead of trying to like either edit videos to like make them more digestible or like just posting stuff that like no one wants to watch because it's like just
Right.
you know like I said meandering.
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe a podcast is the way to go. I mean, and that's what you were originally doing, so
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, like actually the thing that I've planned to do on Monday is actually much more podcast like compared to what I've done over the last few weeks. Um yeah, it could be that's where I settle out. I guess it's kind of like I would prefer to have someone to talk to. Um and maybe there will be a time where it's not hard for me to find people to talk to frequently. But until then, what do I do to get this demon out? And I'm not
and
attached
then
to like the reaction idea, the React video kind of format, which is kind of what that is, honestly. Where I'm just chaining video reactions together. It's something that I kind of did on a whim at the end of last year, and I got more response from it than I thought I would, which is kind of gave me the signal to be like, oh, maybe I should like try to do more of this. But I'm not
yeah,
attached.
I mean those things are always I feel like hard to do because it's like that's like the extreme of like internet like you know pay attention to me culture. So it's like you got to have I feel like it has to be presented like really well, really uniquely,
Hmm.
uh and it has to be like compelling in some way. Otherwise it's like, you know,
It's just more noise for people to ignore.
yeah, it could
Yeah.
come across as like who's this person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Why
It's
should
like
I
you're
give a
really
shit about
putting
his
yourself out
opinion?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah. And
so
in that way, I don't like, I actually like consciously avoided the idea of doing a React video for a long time. And then I just watched something on stream once when someone sent me a link to it and I talked about it and it got some discussion and attention. And then I realized, oh shit, I made a React video. Like I didn't. I feel like I kind of stumbled into it, and maybe that's how people stumble into it, because it's kind of just like it's fucking easy. Like it's kind of it's one of the most brain dead things you can do.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got well, most people have opinions, right? So,
Right.
um, and doing that is very different from being like sort of like a moderator of like a conversation.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like when
Conversation
you're
is
doing
is
that,
much more of a skill,
right?
and
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, talking to a camera requires skill too, but it's
sure.
like it's a very, and I don't mean this in like a necessarily a negative context, but it's a very like egotistical thing. It's
Uh-huh.
like, uh
Well, streaming in general
yeah,
is a very egotistical thing. It's saying like this channel is like me. Like
yeah, pretty much,
only
yeah.
come here if you like me because I'm amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily think I'm amazing, but I just don't know a better way to do this. You know?
I mean, honestly, I feel like looking at it, like I think some of the best things you did were
Mm-hmm.
who was the PlanetSide 2 Rel?
Rel,
Like that
the
was, I think, probably like the
lead
best
designer. Yeah.
one I've seen. I watched obviously I've seen a few of like the content creator ones, and like some
Mm-hmm.
of them are good. It kind of like is guest dependent.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but honestly, like I feel like some of the best ones you had were honestly kind of like even earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not necessarily ones with bad luck.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I mean, like he's to me Taylor is like a comic relief. Like if you want like the third voice that like doesn't really contribute much to the content of the conversation, but is says something funny or is there for like to be dunked on.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy. But like some of the ones with Matt I thought were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Lat I thought was good. He's obviously has uh, a lot of experience and he's a pretty engaging
Yeah, Lat's a great guy. I'm definitely gonna have him on again
conversationalist.
this year sometime.
Um, I mean, yeah, I think you want someone that's going to be able to like have a easy conversation, like that talks well, but is also like knowledgeable about what they're
Yes,
talking
yes.
about.
Someone who has a valuable perspective and who has some charisma and ability to converse. Like that's, I think the thing that and yeah, I think your feedback that some of the earlier ones were the best is pretty interesting. I think I probably agree with you. Like I don't necessarily think it's always been onward and upward. Um, I guess another one of the dynamics that I'm all too aware of is the expediency of talking to people who have the larger built-in audiences, right?
Right, of course. Yeah, because that's a way to grow,
That's
right?
the fastest way to grow is to. Oh, hang on. I'm being loud. My wife's complaining. I'm gonna close my door real fast. Just 1 second.
Yo,
Sorry about that taking so long.
it's all good.
What were we
Heavy
talking
door.
about? No, just my seeming
Like what,
my
the
seeming
early
inability to get out of emerge from my office without being asked for favors and questions and wanting to be talked to, and you know, one of the things I'm really hoping for in our next place is that I can get an office with an adjoining bathroom. So every single time I go to the bathroom, I'm not out in the house and considered ripe bait for conversation and questions and honeydews. You know.
Are you guys moving?
Yeah, we're moving in the next month and a half. We're looking for a new apartment here, and probably on the east side. But
I'm not familiar with. You're in what, Seattle, right?
yeah.
I've actually never been to Seattle.
You should come.
Yeah, I've wanted. In fact, of all the U.S. cities I haven't been to, that's probably the top of the list.
I'm not much of a tourist. Like, I'm a pretty terrible tourist, but I like Seattle. There's a lot of people around here that might be interested in meeting. Matt's not that far.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go out to see him too. Like, I was actually gonna go, like, I think, like, last summer, but like obviously COVID was not great then, so
Yeah, I remember
didn't
you
go.
guys talking about that.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah,
one
we were
day.
talking about like presentation, and I don't know.
Yeah, your earlier podcast kind of like
Yeah. Well, earlier
compared to
on,
the
I had the idea that the podcast was going to be topic focused, and I would have people on who could talk about certain topics, almost exactly like what you're suggesting, actually, funnily enough. But then I realized that unless I got people with big enough names to have built-in communities online, no one was ever going to watch this content.
right.
And there is a certain need to have visibility in the content, not just for vanity's sake, but because without
But in order to talk
interaction-
about what you want to talk about, right?
yeah, without interaction, like the thing kind of can't breathe.
Right.
Like, it needs like a minimal amount of feedback. Like I'll tell you, like when I did I think for the second week that I did the Basement Side Weekly thing, I actually had a couple of people post like really long comments on my YouTube video. One, I did a segment where I talked about the upcoming mod where Oblivion's being recreated by community members within the Skyrim engine. And they did a quest reveal where they showed a quest, and I watched the video and I commented on it, and one of the developers actually jumped in and shared a bunch of insights about what I was talking about. It was pretty cool. And another person wrote a really thoughtful comment about a Planet Side video that I was reacting to. And that felt like the kind of interaction I wanted from that content stream. Like, it's even okay that it's in a YouTube comment. I'm not here to, like, chisel my ideas on the cliffside. I think that my ideas don't go anywhere unless they're exposed to the crucible of human interaction.
I feel like kind of what you got sucked down to, at least in the like near the end of 2020, was like talking to content creators that like you didn't necessarily know what to talk about other than like their content, which was probably not something I would imagine. I mean, maybe you had some interest in it, but like I feel like it wasn't really what you wanted to do. Or am I wrong? Maybe
no,
I'm
mean,
wrong.
I think you definitely said some truth there. Let me think about how to respond to that for a moment.
Like I feel like some you were like really into, you know, like obviously, I mean, Rel was not a content creator, but like you were very into that interview.
Yeah, well, I also had the luxury of really knowing him by being an invested PlanetSide player and someone who's consumed hours and hours of his YouTube content, which is just not a luxury I'm going to get with everyone.
No, but again, you don't really, you know, if what you're trying to talk about is, I mean, obviously you want to know some background, but you don't have to know. I mean, like, yeah, it'll make the interview easier, and you'll be able to have like kind of interesting color, but You don't need to know that to give a good,
Yeah.
compelling interview.
Yeah, I think
But
what
yeah,
I fell into, like to kind of respond to what you were saying before,
mhm.
is the expedient of bringing in people who are active streamers who I have some familiarity with of a game that I had put in my 1,000 hours on. Because by doing that, it's very easy for me to generate familiarity, very easy to have a conversation. Also about topics I happen to know a great deal without having to do a lot of work in order to learn about them, you know. And what I'm looking at this year is um, something a little more closer to, I want to talk about more industry topics and more, like, I actually would like to eventually branch out of being necessarily game specific. Like, gaming, I think, is an okay lens to look at a lot of these things through, but as you know from our conversations, it's not where it ends for me. But like,
You mean
and
like not even when you say game specific, you don't you like you mean you still want to be within the realm of like gaming, but not like
I
necessarily
guess
about a specific game,
I
or
guess a
do you
better
even
way to
want to?
put it, yeah, like it's actually I think what you were about to say, which is, you know, like how you pointed out that like my content is not like really Guild Wars or Planet Side or whatever focus. And it seems like I want to talk about more general topics, like more general gaming topics. Well, actually, my true interests, if you take that analogy and apply the first part of it to general gaming, that's more where my interests are. Like on the side, I've actually over the last week I've been I've been interested in for a couple months, and just in the last week I've started to take on some philosophical texts, and I'm very interested in mental health, and I'm super interested in a lot of things that affect people. Um, and gaming is just a really great shrunk. What's the past tense of shrink wrap? Shrink wrapped, let's say.
Shrink
Uh,
wrapped, yeah.
shrink wrapped way of talking about the way people are interacting with each other in the mediums of the new technology we have, and the way that the technology reflects on the people and the way people reflect on the technology. Like that's kind of, I think, more core to my interests. But gaming happens to just be something where I put in a fantastic amount of time, and it's a fantastic representation of that notion. In fact, it's so fantastic that I could realistically spend all of my time talking about video games because there's so much there. But it's not where it ends for me. Now, gaming happens to be a place where I can step in and add value right now because I
Yeah.
have quite a lot of fluency. When we talk about like mental health topics or philosophical topics, my fluency there is not useful to people.
Well, again, if you're interviewing, you don't have to be fluent. However, I
Mhm.
would say like I feel like, especially if you're just starting out, you want it to be like, you want to have some kind of focus, right? You don't want like, uh, again, I guess it comes back to like, maybe you don't have to have focus if you're really just doing this for you, but like,
Mhm.
you know, like if you want to try to appeal to a certain group of people, like you want to have some kind of focus on what you're talking about. And I think just being on gaming in general is fine, talking about, I mean, I think even you and I had discussed like sort of like mental
Mhm.
health in gaming, or when we were throwing around ideas. So, I think I honestly, I feel like as long as it has something to do or a peg to gaming, like I think it's all fair game.
Mhm.
But I mean, at least early on, I don't know, maybe your goal is to be, I mean, obviously I know you're a fan of Joe Rogan, and maybe your goal is to like basically be able to talk about whatever you want, sort of like he does.
Yeah,
But like, I
maybe.
feel
I
like
don't know.
you've got to build up the audience,
That's a hard
build
one to
up
do
like
though. Like that's a hard goal to pursue.
well, I mean, yeah, that's like, he's like what, the number one podcast? I mean, like,
Yeah.
um, but also like, Joe Rogan's interesting, but to me, like just the top, like the guest he has on and the topics he talks about are like the most interesting thing. Like
Not him
even like
himself.
he sometimes like he has good takes, but other times he has like really bad
He
takes.
has bad takes on a lot of stuff. The thing that makes him interesting is that he's willing to change them. And
Yeah.
yeah, like, and I think for me, probably, maybe it. I, I put a lot of pressure on myself to not have bad takes, just personally, and it's got nothing to do with performance. It's just to do with what these things I hold myself accountable to.
Well,
Um,
the thing is, you wouldn't know if you, because no one assumes they're taking a bad take, right? Like,
um,
or no one thinks they're. I feel like most people think they have a good take, you
I don't
know.
know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Um, I gotta think about that idea, but uh,
I mean, no, that's basically like saying someone, thinks like what they think is bad or
I
wrong.
guess okay, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna hang my hat on that idea. Like, but I guess what I do want to put forth is, um, I do think that I have interesting things to say on topics outside of the people who I bring on.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean, of
actually, one of
course.
the things that really matters to me is becoming more competent and interesting and having more developed and nuanced takes on things over time. And I think the best way to do that is to talk to people and actually to have these experiences myself. So, like, talk to people who are important figures in gaming while I play games. And, like, I'll be honest, like, the entire way that I play games has changed because I, generally speaking, I don't play games just to play games anymore. Like, actually, and I wouldn't want to. Like,
I
playing
mean,
games,
did you ever? I mean,
that's the
maybe you
thing.
did when you first started,
I
but
think
like, I feel like you never really did play games to play games. It
No, I
was
don't
always
think
to
I
like,
did. But I haven't been aware of it until the last like year and a half, man. That's the thing. Is my
really? I mean,
awareness.
I feel like even back in the day, you were talking about like how the best part of playing games was like, leading a clan and like building a community.
I guess a better way to put it would be that my understanding
Maybe
of
you're
what
just
that
aware of it
means
now.
has changed. Well, like, I guess I was aware of it back then, but not in a way that was useful to me. Like, it didn't make it accessible to me. I was aware of why I played, but I didn't know what to do to get it. Whereas I think in the last year and a half, I've actually taken meaningful steps to actually try to get those things that I want. I think that's the big difference between me now and me before. And a big part of it too is just technology. Like, what the fuck was I supposed to do in 2005 to get this? You know,
Yeah, man.
like,
Sometimes I think about like just how much shit has changed even in like 5, 10 years. It's
mhm.
insane.
Like, in a
It's
way, I was
crazy.
just. I think part of what makes my perspective kind of unique is that, like, a large percentage of my best memories in video games all came before social media. Um, and actually, one of the video essay that I talked to you about before that I want to do is kind of talking about what it was like to participate in online gaming communities before social media was common. When those communities actually were doing something that no one else outside of gaming was really doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation.
I think
Um,
that's pretty interesting. I hope it's
yeah.
interesting.
And like with that, you don't necessarily need like an expert. You just need someone that's been, even someone that's been around for like been gaming in some capacity for like, I don't know, what, 20 years, that has, I feel like, been not just a casual gamer though, but like someone that's like led shit, like be it leading a clan back in the day and now
Well,
running a.
here's my idea for that. Actually, what I want to do is so one of the things that makes Joe Rogan, like, so two podcasts that I consistently watch is Joe Rogan because he's just got a wide variety of interesting guests. And another one is Lex Friedman. Are you familiar with Lex's work at all?
No.
He's an AI researcher and a podcaster, and he is fascinated by technology, like I am, like the effects of technology on people and vice versa. Um, and he, generally speaking, has guests on who are more deep in academia and research, and also business to some extent. Whereas Joe, I think, focuses more on like kind of lay friendly guests. So you'll hear from Neil deGrasse Tyson on Joe Rogan, but you'll hear from some Nobel
Some
laureate
academic
with a thick
you've never even
accent
heard of
on Lex's
before.
podcast, and he'll ask him much
Right.
better questions because, like, that's Lex lives in that world and he knows how to get value out of that in a way that Joe wouldn't. Joe would just be like standing there with his mouth open. God bless him.
Right.
So, but one of the things I've learned from watching both their podcasts is they both have central problems that they're interested in that they usually bring up with most guests that they talk to. And there are exceptions, of course. There's some guests you have on where it's just like you're just making a stage for that guest. That's the point of what you're doing. But a lot of the time, you're just having a general conversation about stuff that's going on, stuff that's interesting. And like Joe will talk about how shitty the governor of California is with anybody. That's like one of his hobby topics, and the way that the government, that the nation is responding to the quarantine crisis, and how business has got a business. How are you gonna business if you don't business? It's like one of his main things. So, and it occurs to me that oh God, hang on. I'm not saying this very clearly because I'm trying not to die in World of Warcraft. Give me one moment to concentrate on this.
Yeah.
If I survive this, I'm a fucking genius. Oh. Of course I died to a fucking tick of damage after the fight ended. Anyway, it's just a long-winded way of saying what I did was I actually created a text file in my like general project folder that I use on my computer called trunk.txt. And it's like, I need a trunk of topics and ideas that I find interesting that I can talk with about most guests that I have on. And that can kind of be like my thing that I think about and worry about and try to iterate on, try to get better takes on over time.
What do you mean? Like you talk to multiple guests about like the same topic?
So let me try to think of an example. Like let's say, like for me, one of my big things with gaming right now is that I really don't like matchmaking with strangers in video games. I think it sucks. And I think it doesn't just suck for me, I think it sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
And if
I mean, that's been like a thing ever since it like was WoW one of the first games to have matchmaking?
I don't know what the original was, but it's been going on for a long time, like even back to like Halo, you know? Like what was the first game that evolved beyond being a lobby shooter? Like actually that's not even the right word. Evolved beyond having public servers that you just have map rotations on to actually having matchmaking. I don't know, but like that game
I don't know.
played a role in like alienating the human species from each other through video games, in my opinion. And I'm
Yeah,
also
everyone's
like,
just a name.
what's that?
Everyone's just like a name, you know?
Yeah, and it makes those interactions transactional. And it makes
Well,
you
you
treat
get,
other people not like people, but like problems.
I mean, it's not, I was going to say here's a hot take. It's not really a hot take though, but like, I feel like the entire world is dealing with that right now because of the pandemic.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
when I'm at work, I feel like I don't have disdain for my coworkers, but like when you're in the office and you can see them as human people, it's
Yes.
very different.
It changes
than
everything. Having that
when
face-to-face
You
accountability.
just see an email demanding something and like, you know, there's no context around them as a person. It's just like they don't understand what you're going through. You don't understand what they're going through. Like they're disembodied. It's just like it creates a lot of resentment.
Yeah. Like it's a good topic, am I right?
Oh, of course.
And
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that's a good evergreen topic I can talk to most people about. Another evergreen topic that I'm really interested in, and I'm trying to develop some competence in, is I think that just generally speaking, oh my god, this Skyrim music just blasted my eardrums. That's better. I think that there is like a power imbalance in the way we talk about video games right now between publishers and developers and gamers. I think technology has given gamers the biggest voice in the conversation, and publishers still have all the money, which talks. And what you're left with is developers having the smallest voice and getting dumped on the hardest by both gamers and by publishers. So like developers are victims to both having to see shitty things posted by gamers all the time, and they're also victims of like crunch and all that terrible shit that goes down in gaming studios.
Are you referring specifically to?
Oh, you got really noisy over there somehow.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was 9.
Oh,
Um,
9-inch,
yeah, he
5
left.
inch. Okay.
I was gonna say, God, what was the game? Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
In the
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Like clearly, someone with decision-making power caused that problem that a bunch of developers were victimized by. How does that happen? I mean, and that's a big part of the reason why one of the things that I'm trying to focus on with my conversational podcast is actually talking to more developers. And actually, I just got confirmation from someone who's an associate narrative director at an MMO that they want to come on and talk to me. So I'm excited about that. I
mean, again, that's another thing that's sort of, I mean, I feel like it's probably especially bad in the gaming industry, but I think that's happening a lot across a lot of different industries. Is just kind of like fear of like the masses, going against you as a business can have real repercussions.
Yeah, the power of the technology we have and the ability to form impressions from that technology, like it's real, and it's something that I think most people just indulge in and don't think about too much. I think they should think about it harder. I really do.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, man, like at the rate we're going, we're gonna fucking hit the singularity soon, and then like what happens when we hit that? It's like, is that the point where like, maybe there is no like life outside of this planet, because like at some point all life just like destroys itself. Like I sometimes genuinely like believe that like we're just gonna destroy ourselves.
A bit of a fatalistic interpretation of the problems of our time.
I mean, I don't think I'll be alive for that, but I do think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, could.
I mean, maybe I will be alive for it because it's fucking moving pretty fast, I feel.
Yeah, you're young still. Things could still get worse.
Well, I think they will. But how much, I don't know.
Yeah. That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you need to sit down and you need to be like, all right, what do I want this to be, and how do I want to do it? And I guess I've said this to you many times before, but I don't know. It's. I don't know. Definitely, I will say watching one of the life as a, or what was the topic? The one I watched, I was like, all right, I got to talk to Greg about this.
This is not right. Yeah,
I was like,
the first part of that.
I feel like
he
really, like dropped off a cliff in terms of quality. I was like, man, what is going on here?
Yeah, no, you're right. It was not good, and in fact, I stripped it out altogether, like I mentioned. I don't know. Like I also just had a particularly bad day that day, and it really debated just not doing it at all. But so yeah, just independently. But yeah, if you get a chance, I'd be curious if you wanted to. Well, if you want to, you can check out the YouTube VOD from that same thing. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Why Asmongold Needs a Break.
Okay.
And it cuts out the Rogan part of that altogether. It's not even on there.
All right.
But if not, whatever. You don't have to. I'm not obliging you to. I appreciate the reflections regardless. Actually, it's what you're doing now. Something I've been kind of desperate for. Just getting some feedback from someone. So I don't want you to hesitate doing so in the future.
I feel like, again, another one of the main things I would say is like, I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing to be having like the same content on 2 different platforms and the content itself is different. Because I feel like it leads to confusion. If someone saw one of them first and like saw the Twitch one first, they'd be like, "What the hell is this?" and like be turned
Mhm.
off and like not watch anything else.
Yeah,
Whereas
maybe.
like if they saw the YouTube one first, like, but then they went to Twitch, and I don't know, I feel like some consolidation is needed in some way.
Yeah, it could be. Um, I've had that thought too. I mean, I realistically, if I'm just using Twitch as a live stage, I could delete those VODs from Twitch after I publish them
True.
on YouTube. Just have them be in one place. I think there's an argument for that.
Yep.
And that way, that's more the reflection of what I want people to be looking back. I mean, Twitch VODs go away after a little while anyway, so
Mm.
part of me is not super worried about it. But you're probably right; it probably would be an improvement. And yeah, all the great ideas in the world, but like ideas that require other people to show up, just functionally add a huge amount of unreliability and
You mean people actually like showing up for interviews?
yeah.
Like, so people will
The
say
whole
yes
reason
and
I'm
just, like,
doing the weekly
not
thing
appear.
is because I can't get people to show up for interviews every single week, Nick. That's the whole reason.
Well, I mean, like, I know that, but like, do you mean like physically they'll say yes and then don't show up?
Oh no, I haven't had any
Okay.
no show. Like that hasn't happened. No.
Right. Okay.
I mean people saying yes, people being interested. And part of that is just like, I don't know, like I can reach out to more people, I'm sure. But on the other hand, I'm reluctant to reach out to someone where I don't have a sense of what value could be gained by the conversation.
I get it. And like I said, I mean, I don't
wanna
know,
waste people's time.
maybe again, go back to sort of like your friend group, and it's like, I know
I would love to
it
do
won't.
that, Nick, but no one will watch those.
I know, but like, do you get enjoyment out of it, right? I don't. You just said you'd love to do it.
That's the other trick. Is that most people in my friend group play video games to cheese off. And they don't want to have conversations like this. Or if they do, they want to get to 1,000 feet, not 10,000 feet, much less 30,000 feet. And then they just want to joke about it, Like,
Yeah. I mean, it depends who.
If you have a suggestion or if you want to volunteer, I would certainly be open to that.
I'd be happy. I just don't know like what you'd want to talk to me about. Like, I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable talking about something I'm not like at least knowledgeable on.
Okay.
And my gaming knowledge is quite limited.
Well, you're a producer on a news show. Like that's interesting. Can we think of some
True. I would maybe. I mean, not. I would be hesitant to talk about just, God forbid, something like, CNN is a target. So like,
yep. No,
I would have to be certain, like certainly incognito and like.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could do it in a way that's circumspect, or we also don't have to talk about that experience directly. Like it could be like reflections.
I could certainly talk about the state of the news
from a news producer.
And I mean, if there's something I feel incredibly confident about talking about, and I fucking love talking about it, is how partisan literally everything is. But I don't know if a political conversation is really. And when I say partisan, I mean like specifically the news and like what it chooses to cover and chooses not to cover.
Well, this has been something that I've been interested in lately too, and maybe there's some adjacency. Tell me what you think. I've been thinking about the idea that social media tends to amplify only the simplest ideas that people agree with, not the best ideas. And one of the most simplest things about ideas in general is understanding what opposes what. So left versus right, up versus down, stuff like that. That's very simple and easy to push. This is against that. Or this person bad, this person good.
Yeah. 100%. We're living in I mean, it's basically, in my mind, media companies, be it social media, be it traditional legacy media, and I feel like it really started with the internet, but it's basically playing on humans' worst, most base instincts, which is anger and outrage, and like self-protection. And because it draws more reaction, like I feel like it's always easier to be mad about something than elated about something.
It's one of the simplest emotions and easiest
right.
to pass on.
I would not say it gives a better, I mean, obviously it doesn't give a better feeling, but I would even say I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a stronger emotion than like elation. It's just an easier emotion.
Yes.
Than elation. And basically what is happening is, I feel like with the advent of the internet, that really got amplified in a way that other things have now jumped on that bandwagon. Like legacy media is now like the news. I mean, look, the news has always covered like bad shit, like I'm sure you've heard the phrase, like if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, of course.
But I would say it's taken a new direction, certainly in the last like 10 years or so, where it's not just about covering sensationalistic stuff. It's literally about like
finding divisions,
vilifying something to make people mad, to get them to tune in.
Right. Soliciting the anger emotion deliberately.
Yes. And it's not, I honestly feel like now it's not even just media. It's like, it's literally everything has just become so like hyper partisan that even like businesses and their advertising that have nothing to do with like media are sort of like,
they're getting woke. They're
trying to build up
signaling their
anger.
Virtues.
Yeah, and it's like I don't, like I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but like I could certainly find them. But it just and look, I'm all about like there's a lot of problems in this country that need to be addressed. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of it is, like you said, virtue signaling. It's I question how much of it is even genuine. Like, I feel like a lot of, like you were talking about gaming companies being kind of bullied. Like, I feel like a lot of it is companies doing these things out of fear, more so because they actually genuinely support the cause, which is a problem in and of itself, because like that's going to make those people resentful because they feel like they're being bullied and like forced to believe something and to go along with something. So
I
like,
remember
I feel like
during the riots last year when all these corporations were coming out with Black Lives Matters like ads and shit like that. It's like
yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it's a sensitive thing because it's like I feel like it that needs to be like I do genuinely feel like there is certainly a lot of systemic racism in the country, and
agreed.
It's like something that needs to be talked about, but like
people,
and I don't know,
people
I mean,
co-opting popular sentiment to get something like engaging in kind of populist politics almost.
Yeah. And it's like, is taking something and like, spiking the football, so to speak, really going to do anything to actually educate the people who like need that education the most? And like, like in terms of people that like are actually racist, like like how do you most efficiently change and affect those people in a positive way to turn them, anti-racist? I don't know. I feel like everything that is being done now, or not everything, but a lot of things are being done the wrong way. It's coming at it from like you're wrong, you're racist perspective.
Yeah.
Instead
if you're a Republican, then you're racist. If you voted for Trump, then you're racist.
Yeah. Instead of like, like race is a thing. That's a problem, and it's been a problem ever since there were slaves in this country. And it's basically like trying to convince someone who's a phrase I heard like honestly, it was like a year ago. It's like one of the best fucking quotes I've ever read.
Uh-huh.
But it basically said, it's easier to fool someone than convince them they've been fooled. And I was like, man, that's like fucking the quote of our times.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. When someone believes something that is like negative toward another group of people, or and it's like a tricky thing, because I mean, obviously I feel like most people agree racism is wrong, and it is. I mean, like,
I think the thing is, most people who embrace racist ideas that most people would consider racist don't consider themselves to be a racist. They consider themselves to be like pragmatists.
Of course, exactly. Like, racism is no longer like you're putting on a KKK hood. It's not. I mean, there is certainly some of that, but like,
yeah, it exists still.
These days, I feel like most people that are racist or have prejudiced beliefs don't even realize they do.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest problem, is like when you try to tell someone that they are and they don't believe they are, you're gonna get not a good reaction. So it's like, how do you change that?
Right.
And it's a really complicated answer, but I certainly feel like what's happening now is not the right answer. It's just going to make people more entrenched in their backward beliefs.
Yeah, one of the dimensions of that problem that, oh my god, this guy's healing. Stop healing. What? This boss is self-healed. Like, sorry. Okay. Don't do that, boss. I don't like that. The role of technology is what I was going to say. What is the role of technology in all this shit? Like, and how should we interact with new technology that changes the way we interact? Like, if you look at it, like, our ability to respond to things like Twitter, Reddit, whatever, has really changed the kinds of conversations we can even have. And the fact that not just people who are celebrities are using those mediums to signal virtues or to call people out, but everyone's doing it. Like, any person can have a viral message be created at this point, if you get lucky or say the right thing. And we've never had the tools that we have now. And this is all, by the way, if we do something, this is all kinds of stuff I want to talk with you about. The tools we have to play with our personal identity have never been more potent. We have things like Photoshop. We have things like Twitter, where you can, or Instagram or TikTok, where you can show off these snapshots of your life, supposed snapshots of your life. Where it used to be that because we didn't have that kind of technology, that if you wanted to show off, you had to show up in person. And if you did that, people could easily find you out for the fraud you are. Because it's easy to appear. Well, sorry, it's not easy. It's more easy to appear a certain way for, a few minutes a day than it is to actually walk the walk for an entire for having dinner with someone for an hour and a half. It's
anonymity is certainly like a.
Sometimes I think one of the solutions that's being under considered, especially in the West here, for like solving toxicity in gaming, is just dissolving anonymity. Just get rid of it. I'm not sure, but that creates other problems, because anonymity does serve some useful functions. So
it
like,
does.
That's
I mean, it's an interesting question. Because I mean, I think the default reaction would be like, well, we're not communist China,
right?
Like, but honestly, if you think about it, well, it's like if you're walking down the street, right? How would you define anonymity? I mean, like, you could walk down the street, but strangers aren't going to know your name, but they'll know what you'll look like, right? And like, to me, that's almost because that's a physical construct. A name is like sort of it's an intangible thing, right?
Mhm.
It's human derived. So to me, your physical image is actually more of an identifier than
Then your name.
your name.
Yeah. What it
Um,
does is it creates a receipt for all your transactions online.
right. And I guess
So
the
and
question
so
is like,
says
are
I fucked your
people?
mom. Oh, okay. It's this person. Let me cross-reference them through the other media where they're identifiable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I guess if you asked me that 5 minutes ago, I would have said like, take away anonymity on the internet. Are you crazy?
Uh-huh. Right.
But I mean, that's also, I
It is
would
a
say, like,
crazy
one of the best
idea.
things about the internet is because
Yes.
you can be anonymous.
Yes.
So it's
So
like, if you take that away,
yeah,
what does the internet become?
it has a freedom. Yes, exactly. Yes. I love these kinds of questions.
And then how would you have, if you took away, like, what does taking away anonymity on the internet look like, right? Because
Mhm.
like we just said, like, you can have a name. And I guess names are certainly important, right? I mean, like, it's I feel like it's pretty uncommon where you come across someone that has like no digital footprint.
I mean,
So someone says something stupid, you could find them on LinkedIn and you know out them or
yeah.
whatever. But
And I mean, it
wouldn't
just
that also sort of play into what you're saying about like the call out culture? Or I guess the
well,
idea is like, well, if there's no anonymity, no
yes.
one's really going to be acting like
Yes.
insane in the first place.
Well, not any more insane than people with real names act on Twitter, I
Right.
guess, which is still kind of insane. But
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like Twitter to me is like of the worst of social media,
I think it's
aside from the shit like Parlor and everything,
I
but
think Twitter's
it's
brilliant.
bad.
It is such a battleground. I think
You
they're
like it?
what no, I think it's a great thing to exist. Like it's truer to the spirit of the internet than almost any other social media platform. And that's what I love about it.
Oh, to me, Twitter is like just as a media person, as a news person, I fucking hate Twitter. And
Well,
like everyone on Twitter just seems so like sanctimonious. Like I feel like every tweet I read is just from some like egotistical douchebag.
probably reading the wrong tweets.
I mean, yeah, I'm reading like media people tweets.
Yeah, that's the
So
problem.
I feel like most people that work in the media were like kids that were like bullied in high school and have like some chip on their
Some axe
shoulder.
to grind.
Something, yeah. They got something to
I'm gonna
prove.
show them. Yeah.
I really feel like that's like the typical news person.
Yeah, you could be right. So, Mr. Producer, let's think about. So, there's clearly an interesting conversation to be had here. Let's think about how to package this,
Yeah, I mean, again,
even if it's just hypothetical.
I I'm okay with talking about it. I just don't want to venture too far into like territory of like me not being like a futurist or like an like it's weird because like as someone that works in the news, like I feel like I have to apply those same standards to myself if I were to like be on some other, and I know this is obviously not a news program, but like I basically don't want to be talking out of my ass is what I'm
Uh
saying.
huh. Uh
Like
huh.
on like a public setting.
Here, here.
So uh
I agree. You shouldn't talk out of your ass.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about that.
Uh huh. Well, we'll sleep on it. Because, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like a podcast that's about you. Like I could find a way to do, like even some sort of semi-scripted content. We could do it offline. Even it doesn't have to be streamed. Like there's all kinds of ideas for ways we can create something of meaningful value, entertainment, and informationally. And you, I think, probably have more unique insights to share as someone who's a news media insider. Let's put it that way.
Yes. News media insider. If we did it and we talked about the news media, it would probably have to be podcast and not on camera.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Okay.
I mean, it depends what we talk about. Again, if it's like,
I mean, we can definitely look at maintaining your anonymity. It's something I haven't really worked on previously, but
it's again, like if we're talking about the news media, like I certainly would not. I would want to be relatively anonymous. I mean, you could use my first name, but like beyond that, like I don't know how much I would want identified. Because like literally, people are at CNN have been like outed at, when they like recorded when they've criticized CNN by people that
Mhm.
want to like do no
hurt their
good to
careers,
CNN.
or
Yeah.
just
So
take
like
fuck CNN up. Yeah, CNN
so
producer says this.
yeah, like I would definitely want no identifying information.
Mhm.
If we depending on what we talk about, if it's something broad and like vague enough, like I wouldn't matter. But if it's like if we're going deeper on the media, then I would be more hesitant to not be shrouded.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the important things to establish whenever you're interviewing someone is relevancy. You know,
Of
why
course.
should I listen to this
Why are you
person's?
talking to this person?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that I would need to give some thought to. I definitely totally respect what you're saying, um, and we don't have to figure this all out tonight. But what I want to do is like sleep on this idea a little bit, see if anything brilliant occurs to me. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yep.
The
Yeah, because who knows if
the
there's
trick
some
is like there aren't that.
TFC.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, who knows if there's some TFCer out there that like hates CNN and like somehow knows I work for them or finds out I work for them
Could
and
happen. Hmm.
fucking like send some shit I say to CNN.
Yeah, it's not impossible. TFCers are fucking terrible. Like they're amazing and they're awful at the same time.
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
people on the internet are terrible.
Yeah.
What happened to Polarity, by the way?
Um,
He left again?
I can only surmise. Like I don't know exactly because he hasn't said anything to me. But there was a conversation happening between Taylor and Matt in the lounge in the VIP area, and I think that Taylor was making fun of Matt's like stools or something because they look uncomfortable.
Oh, it was like dirty. His room was dirty or
I
something.
no, I think it was just like he has these red stools. They're like metal stools, and he's like they look amazing. They complement the feng shui. He said something really silly like that.
Something Matt would say.
Something Matt would say, yes. And Taylor was like, well, they look ridiculous and uncomfortable, so that's stupid. And then Matt was like I'm gonna take advice from someone whose entire house is stocked by Amazon Basics. Something like that. And I think that I don't know. He was gone
Like,
shortly after that comment occurred.
because Griffith said he left because it was too toxic, and I was like, what? I mean, like, I know there's some world can get a little racy sometimes, but like, I feel like this is one of the like pretty like as far as the internet goes, like pretty not toxic.
Yeah. Well,
And if anything, I feel like Polarity is often like usually the one that's really the most negative.
yes, he's the one who's usually brings that kind of thing, the discussion. So, although I'm sad that he left, I've not missed his contribution to the conversations, for the most part. Which is a sad thing to say. I wish I didn't feel that way, but I do.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
all I know.
I need to go to sleep because it's like 4 a.m.
Okay, dude. Thanks for
All right.
sharing your thoughts, and I'll catch up with you sometime soon, hopefully.
All right. Peace out.
Bye. Well, that was a cool conversation. As usual, I wish I could have said things a little bit more concisely. Brevity is the soul of wit, after all. If that's the case, I must not be very smart. Nick is a good dude, though. Always valued his counsel. It got late, though. All right, well, let's finish up this Torghast. We're not far from done. It's kind of frustrating with how I always get the worst anima powers on this burning halls or whatever the hell this awful place is called. Left or right? Let's try left. Suppressor. Zillors. Is that it for here? Yeah, looks like it. What? Oh, these things. Lovely. Oh, go away.
For you, I offer only the finest. May I tempt you with my wares?
Rage mode. Nice. Ah, yes, that's beautiful. That I like. So we need to leave 125 for rage mode. We can spend about 170-ish, 168. So let's get one of these.
You struck a hard bargain. Good show.
Oh yeah, it's redundant.
Goods and
Oh well.
services for sale.
I think it should be okay regardless.
Remember, I'm out of I can't use the letter. It's too far away. I'm out of We need to get closer. It's too far away.
All right. Okay. Should have enough soul ash to upgrade to our tier 4 legendary. Let's go buy the vessel and get it done. We'll call it a night. Any long boys? Any long boys? No. Guess we're going to Stormwind. Legs. Greaves. Mail. Lots of plate. No, we're gonna buy the wrong thing. I'm so tired. 235. Legs. That's it. All right. Roll over to some TFC here. Time for a pickup. Hi,
What?
friends.
What?
Leo, he looked right at me, complimented me. You guys got kill, TK'd me. Us only has 72 kills, dude. That's clearly we need to investigate this guy.
Milos?
We got enough for another pickup?
We got enough for a 2v2 on.
If people stop raging and add Emmy,
I know it. Let's
Moreno,
get a 3v3 going.
Knock. Oh, Knox is here.
I'll grab a
Yeah.
drink. I'm down for 2v2. I'm down to wait for more, though.
We could get a 3v3
I'd
on
rather
like
wait.
Destroy or
I'd rather wait, Milos.
I'll play
Yeah.
one more.
Milos doesn't want to get exposed.
2v2 is boring.
He doesn't want to get exposed, dude. He needs the extra carry for sure. Trying to pipe the front door, dude.
That was working. You know it was working.
I made people go medic.
There was some fluke that happened that made it stop.
It's because
Working
Emmy's
for-
got Emmy's the best NG in the game. Had a solid gun that wouldn't die. That's the only reason it's working.
Yeah. What? No, Emilio had like 60 kills or something, right?
Emilio had 5 kills, dude. He was AFK for 5 minutes.
No, let's see. 58 as NG. That's a record.
Yeah, dude, that's a record for sure. Emilio's a beast. Seriously, in the beginning, I think he was kind of AFK.
Who? Emilio?
Emilio, yeah. I think we don't.
your offer. I await our next meeting.
Waiting for a TFC pickup here. If it forms in the next few minutes, I'll go. Otherwise, I will take it as a sign it was not meant to be.
Shut down.
Full
Shut down.
mate.
Shut down 2 is a great map, dude.
Moreno, Moreno, what do you
Let's
think?
get Deeg's decision here.
Let's get Moreno's opinion. Moreno.
I'll do whatever. I like destroy.
Okay.
There it is.
If he likes
There it
destroy,
is.
then
Okay.
we can do it.
Thank you.
Moreno
Butters.
shooting his feet on the stream.
Team set.
Please.
Oh fuck! I gotta carry this guy. God damn it.
I'm gonna show you what a real soldier looks like.
Alright, so we're doing destroy.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, we're going to do destroy. Forget those vote thingies.
I'd vote for push, but yeah, we can do destroy.
Me and Emmy were killing on a push the other night.
Yeah.
We
I
beat
mean,
Homie
getting
Cat.
killed
Moreno.
on push.
We
Where did
were
Homie Cat go? He snuck
Was-
out, man.
Homie Cat's the beast. Homie Cat can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Wow. He snuck out on us. That's not cool.
Homie Cat's maybe the most modest player in TFC.
Yeah, he's one of the most underrated players.
I don't think underrated is the word. I think everybody acknowledges his skill. I think it's modest.
No, most people are like, who the hell is that?
Who is saying who's Homie Cat? Give me a name. Who
A
said that?
lot of people have said
Everybody.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Even me. I guess I don't know
Everybody.
who that is.
I know him,
Okay.
Cat, since back in '05, I think it is. '05, yeah.
Bunch of bullshit, dude.
Yeah, which hacker is he?
Who, Homie Cat?
Yeah, which band hacker is he?
He used to go as Cat something in the hat, some bullshit. I forgot.
Cat in the Hat?
Cat in the Hat?
Something like that.
Oh, this is destroyed?
This is
No,
not destroyed.
he's not a change a fucking map.
Oh,
Milos is
okay.
illiterate. He barely graduated 5th grade.
It wasn't me.
Don't grade shame him.
You gender shamed
I'm
me
proud
the
of
other day.
you for your 5th gradeness, Milos.
No, you should be ashamed. As a 74-year-old male, he should have accomplished at least a GD.
All right, I'm moving people. I'll soldier ramp.
Okay.
Say no heavy.
No heavy, dude. Yeah, no heavy.
How can we demo?
Yeah, you can demo.
I guess
Should
I'll
I?
play button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Button. I guess is demo the best thing, or should I soldier too?
Nah, demo's fine, dude. Button, one button.
On it.
Nice.
There.
One in, now.
Coming button.
Oh shit! What?
One button.
I'm weak. I'm dead.
Out.
Sorry, man. I'm here.
I'm dead at button. It's clear. Two button. One's weak.
Oh, sorry.
One in, knocks. I'm down, do one in, do ramp.
On its way out, man. Medic from behind. Down. Scout main. Medic button. I'm down. Medic button. I'm down.
Need to resupply.
One medic button. Weak. I'm back.
Then Knox. Juke.
I didn't really look. I just heard you.
1 in, 2 in.
One button. I'm gonna go down.
One in, Knox.
Main. To main.
I'm dead, dude. 2 in, 2 in.
Okay.
Is it gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
One button.
Yeah. Brilliant rocket.
I'll button do 2.
One more button. What? That scout alive.
I'm dead, dude. 1 in.
Yeah. He tossed it. He's still back there. I'm down.
Button and ramp. What?
Me. Cow chop.
One above, one down.
It's alright, we're doing pretty good. For no HW here.
Two in ramp now.
Nice.
One buy me button. One going behind. Nope.
Getting chopper.
Scout. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Above.
You got him. Watch battlements.
Button uncontested. Two of them.
Two.
Come on.
One end, dude.
Lasered.
Oh, I'm dead, dude.
Ow! Had me a grenade, man.
Sure, buddy.
Scout needs one hit. Medic, I'm down.
Playing main.
Main. Is it in or out?
So
One in, Knox. I'm dead.
Oh, main.
going out the back.
Yeah, saw that. It's a long way to go just to go out the same way.
I think we did pretty good.
4 caps. We can manage that. My rocket aim is still fucking terrible. It's sad.
What? Can I kill it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, did you see that?
That was crazy.
Huh?
What?
It's my invincibility.
Yeah. I get
Cheat.
it. Hello.
I'm going for security. I got it.
Flags out.
Same spot.
Soldier ramped up. Demo herb.
I'll go medic next
Demo
round.
30 health. I got button.
That sucks. Out.
Front door.
Got it. Sorry.
Hurry. Oh, never mind.
Oh, sorry. Happy now.
demo dead.
No demo.
What? What? I just walked through the flag twice.
Toss.
Yes.
I got it.
Out button.
Tapping in 2. In.
Cap button. Flags out.
Bro. Up a little further. It's scoopable.
Cost.
Got it. Five seconds.
Flags out. Demo 14 health. Dead.
It's out. 4, sorry.
Gone.
Sorry.
No worries. Capping 1, 2, 3. Heard a dead pack.
It's ramp.
I have
How many times are gonna block you?
it. It's just that flag attraction. In. Up a little further.
It's 4.
Fuck. Next ramp down.
You're not gonna know.
Floor. Same. Same. I got security. In.
So
I have it. Grab it. I got security. You got security.
Up in 3. 3. Go.
Going for security. Now. Could have been amazing. Floor. Same.
Trying to do a nade jump.
Yeah, you seen that?
I have it. Tapping at 5. And no. Thanks for the game. That was fun.
Yeah.
What was finals? 7-3, 8-3, something like that.
Something like that. I gotta call it a night.
I think
Yeah, I'm done.
Have a good one
Yeah.
now.
You too.
Good night.
GG.
GG.
Good night, Twitch. Take it easy.